You're tuning in to Unorthodoxing, the political talk show where uncommon politics finds common ground. Every week, you'll get news analysis from Mike Vick, an activist in the progressive pro-life movement, with 20 years of experience in politics and journalism, as well as interviews with outside-the-mainstream guests you won't see on the nightly news. Get ready for an unorthodox experience. Welcome back, friends, to the latest episode of Unorthodoxing. I know it's been a while. We've been on quite a long hiatus due to a mix of professional and personal obligations. But recently I've had some major shifts in my life that have afforded me some extra time. And I'm incredibly excited to devote that time right here back to this podcast. I'll get to the specifics of those life changes in just a moment. First, I want to give you a quick programming note. We're looking at this episode as a bit of a relaunch. And with that comes a slight retooling of our format. Now, the old way was we would normally start the show with a few news stories from the week, and I'd give you my analysis on each. The new way is going to be much better. Look, you've got any number of places where you can get your news. So from here on out, I'm skipping the recap of the news of the week and sticking strictly to the analysis part. We're going to focus on one, maybe two core issues happening in the culture or the news. And from time to time, I'm going to fill you in on the ground level work happening in my own activism. Today's episode is going to be exactly that, a deep dive into the front lines of my political activism. As many of you listening know, I have served on the National Leadership Committee of the Solidarity Party since 2024. Even though I still had one full year left on my term, I recently came to the heavy decision that it was time for me to step down. This wasn't a decision made in a vacuum. It stems from two practical desires. First, I want to focus heavily on the vital work we're doing on the ground to build up the Illinois Solidarity Party. Two, I wanted the dedicated time required to build this podcast into the media operation it deserves to be. While those are ultimately great positive uses of the free time I'm clawing back from national party politics, I don't want to sugarcoat things. I need to address some of the underlying systemic problems at the national level of the party that prompted my resignation. Now, a quick caveat, I do believe that sunshine is the best disinfectant, so I want to be as transparent as humanly possible with you all. But let me make one thing very clear. This is not an I have all the answers, why won't anyone listen to me screed. If I had all the answers, then 6 years in the Solidarity Party would have been plenty of time to fix things. My resignation wouldn't be necessary. I've made plenty of mistakes along the way. Now, this is simply my perspective. Others are welcome to offer their own. Furthermore, stepping down from leadership at the national level does not mean I'm leaving the party. I still deeply believe in the fundamental premise of the Solidarity Party. I genuinely hope that my efforts here in Illinois and my efforts to build out this media channel will ultimately benefit the party as a whole. To understand why I care so much about this, we have to go back to 2020. Now, when I first stumbled upon the Solidarity Party, I was overjoyed. For the first time, I found an organization that closely matched my own personal political convictions. For years, I had felt completely politically homeless. On one hand, I'm theologically conservative and a Christian and firmly pro-life. On the other hand, I'm quite left-leaning on almost every economic and social justice issue. Finding this party felt like a lifeline. As I got involved, I developed lifelong friendships that I will always cherish. There are people all across this country who have opened their hearts and even their homes to me. They've supported my runs for party positions, my campaigns for actual elected office, and they've supported this very podcast. In 2021, I paired up with Bill Fleming, who at the time was the chair of the Georgia Solidarity Party and the host of the National Party's official podcast. Together, we co-founded what became known as the Liberation Caucus. Our goal was simple: recruit people into the party from the pro-life left and provide a soft landing spot where they could integrate, find camaraderie, and build community with like-minded folks. Part of the reason why we formed the caucus was that I had experienced some spirited pushback within the party for identifying at the time as a socialist. Now, since then, My views have evolved, and I identify as a distributist. But frankly, I've never felt someone's chosen ism mattered nearly as much as what that belief means to them and whether their core values align with the party's principles. Now, thankfully, most people in the party welcomed our efforts, even those who would never join our caucus because our specific brand of left-leaning politics just didn't appeal to them. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The Liberation Caucus was always and remains intentionally neutral on LGBTQ issues. We did this for two reasons. First, there's a genuine diversity of views on this topic among our caucus members and among our party members. The second, for many of us, it simply wasn't the driving factor of our activism. We wanted to focus on economics, healthcare policy, environmental protection, peace and justice, and making the party more internally democratic. But just because it isn't a driving factor for me doesn't mean it hasn't become a litmus test for others. It has. We need to look closely at this issue because it illuminates one reason why our party is struggling to grow. Right now, if you're not sufficiently conservative on this topic, you are instantly labeled liberal. If you are personally conservative but believe the political strategy should differ from what's currently written in our platform, you're viewed with deep suspicion by some. And if you're socially liberal, a certain segment of the party believes you have no right even to exist in our spaces unless you knuckle under. Ironically, this same group of culture warriors is often more than happy to recruit people who disagree with us to one extent or another on every other platform issue except abortion, so long as they're sufficiently anti-LGBTQ. Now, over time, our national platform has become increasingly strident on this issue. It has severely hampered our ability to recruit from the left and the center. Now, just a piece of history here. When I first joined, our platform included language supporting anti-discrimination legislation akin to the Fairness for All Act, which balances religious freedom protections with anti-discrimination protections in public accommodations. In 2019, our then national chair, Matthew Bartko, wrote an article explicitly arguing that the American Solidarity Party is pro-LGBTQ plus people. I would love to link you to that article on the official party blog, but I can't. One of Matt's successors archived it. That said, Matt still has a copy of it on his own LinkedIn account, and I have provided that link in the show notes. Unfortunately, because the language Matt alluded to has been scrubbed from the platform in the years since he wrote it, those sentiments have essentially become a dead letter. And if you talk to membership on the ground, you'll find out that the party broadly falls into three camps on this issue. Camp one are socially conservative people who take a live and let live political approach. They are theologically conservative, but recognize we're building a political party, not a church. They favor compromises like civil unions for all or the Fairness for All Act. Camp two are pro-life folks who are socially liberal on LGBTQ issues. This includes folks who identify as LGBTQ themselves, as well as their allies. They would probably prefer a pro-life Green Party if such a thing existed, but because they're passionately pro-life and a pro-life leftist party does not exist, they gravitate toward us. Camp three are socially conservative people who want the party and the country to take a hard right, unyielding political stance on LGBTQ issues. I'm firmly of the view that the party would be best served if Camp 1 became our fulcrum. It represents a reasonable, practical compromise between the two extremes. Now, instead, our current platform is entirely dictated by Camp 3. And let's be honest, the vast majority of people in this country who reside in Camp 3 do not agree with us on economics, healthcare, the environment, or peace and justice issues. The longer we cater exclusively to Camp 3, the more likely our party is to stay small and to drift to the right on every single non-social issue, mimicking the GOP, the Constitution Party, and the Libertarian Party. Now, for the record, I am in Camp 1. Now, I know recommending my own camp as the compromise sounds self-serving, but it is the honest truth based on where the American electorate actually is. We're losing out on incredible potential members because of a Camp 3 or nothing mentality. Now, worse yet, a vocal faction within Camp 3 treats anyone in the other two camps like garbage. I've watched them use anti-democratic tactics and gatekeep through public and private harassment to retain power. It's driven out excellent, talented people, and not just people on the left. This faction is nominally in favor of our party's stated views on economic and social justice issues, but often only in the mildest way. For example, I regularly get intense pushback within the party for using strongly pro-racial justice messaging, pro-immigrant messaging, pro-peace messaging, or anti-capitalist frames of distributism. Mention Medicare for all to some of these folks and they treat it like a communist plot. What's more, even those who on paper agree with where the party stands on these issues do not prioritize these issues in recruitment or messaging. Ultimately, this points to the single biggest issue facing the National Party right now, which is political ineptitude. There is a glaring unwillingness to take the practical steps necessary to grow past a glorified social media discussion group that occasionally raises a little money to run losing electoral campaigns. Look at the lack of activity from national leadership. Our official communication channels are virtually dead. Our national social media presence is anemic. Local grassroots development is nearly non-existent in most states. We're in a midterm election year, yet we have very few candidates and zero national strategy to support or recruit them. Now, I've watched the people currently in charge at the national level slap away highly qualified professionals who want to help us fundraise. I've seen them dump tens of thousands of dollars into the black hole of presidential ballot access in questionable ways, only to end up with literally zero votes to show for it in a number of states because the efforts there failed. I've also seen them keep people in positions of authority at the state and national level because they pass ideological litmus tests, even if they have no relevant qualifications and even if they have little time to devote to the project. Based on what I've witnessed over the last 6 years, I have zero confidence that the people presently running the National Party could get us out of the cul-de-sac we're stuck in. But I don't want to paint a completely hopeless picture. We have an incredible group of ground-level activists working to change all of this. I like to call them Team Sanity. Formally, they're known as the Growth Coalition. When the broad coalition of the left and center-right has lost at our national conventions, it has really only been by razor-thin margins. Because our party is so small, if you organized enough people to fill a moderately sized banquet hall, you could shift the direction of the party back to a saner politics, the kind of politics represented by the Brian Carroll and Amar Patel presidential ticket back in 2020. Now, I wish I felt that continuing to fight on the national committee was a good use of my time and would get us where we need to be. But the reality is that those of us receptive to this growth mindset are a clear minority on the board, often holding only 3, 4, or maybe 5 out of 11 votes, depending on the issue. The swing votes simply aren't there on most substantive matters. Therefore, I've realized that my time and energy are far too valuable to waste on a board stuck in gridlock. Instead, I'm pouring everything I have into 3 distinct, powerful fronts where we can actually move the needle. First, we're building a massive megaphone right here through a media operation that I'm working with others to expand. If the National Party won't build a modern communication apparatus to market our principles more effectively, then we'll build it ourselves. If they won't welcome people into the front door because they can't pass a litmus test, then we'll open a window and extend a hand. By expanding this podcast and launching a powerhouse network of diverse writers, we're going to introduce consistent life ethic, distributist, and pro-justice ideas to thousands of people who are desperate for a political home but don't even know we exist yet. We're going to build the audience first, and let the movement follow. And second, I'm shifting focus toward helping non-party organizations that share our vision. Let's be honest, electoral politics is only one tool in the toolbox, and right now it's a very slow tool. There are incredible advocacy groups, community initiatives, and nonprofits out there doing the heavy lifting on the ground right now, protecting the unborn, fighting for workers, demanding racial justice, helping immigrants, promoting peace, and protecting our environment. By partnering with them, we can achieve tangible, real-world victories for our values without being bogged down by partisan gatekeeping or committee infighting. And finally, we're going to build an absolute powerhouse of a state party right here on the ground in Illinois. I want to turn our state into the ultimate proof of concept. We're going to focus on the basics that matter: aggressive local recruitment, clear and inspiring messaging, solid fundraising infrastructure, and support and training for candidates who can win local races. We're also going to show the rest of the country what a sane, competent, and growing third-party movement looks like when you stop fighting culture wars on social media and start doing the unglamorous work of local organizing. Again, I wish I felt that continuing to fight on the national committee was a good use of my time, but the math just isn't there right now. So I'm leaving the cul-de-sac behind, going out into the field where the real work gets done. As I share this reflection, I know it touches on a journey that many of us have walked together. I have a feeling that many of you watching and listening right now see this picture the same way I do. Now, at the same time, a healthy movement thrives on diverse perspectives, and I genuinely welcome a thoughtful mix of ideas on how we build our path forward. If this resonates with you, or if you have a different take on where we should go next, I want to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, sound off in the comments below. If you found this through a social media clip, please jump into the conversation there too. We're building a vibrant community of independent minds, and your voice is an essential part of that. I'm just one voice among many, so please use yours and let's build this together. Now, as always, you can stay connected with me on all your favorite social media platforms. Just head on over to my website at votevickusa.com or check out my Linktree at linktree.com/votevicUSA. That's V as in Victor, OTE, V as in Victor, ICK, USA. If you want to unlock bonus episodes and dive into some great members-only perks, come join our community over at unorthodoxing.com or patreon.com/votevicUSA. I'm teaming up with good friends, both inside and outside the party, to bring together an incredible stable of writers and content creators to feature across both platforms. When you support the show, you aren't just helping us keep the lights on and the cameras rolling, you're directly helping us expand and bring you brand new shows and fresh voices. Now, speaking of creators, if you're a writer or a content creator and you'd love to contribute, I would love to hear from you. You can reach out through social media, drop a line through the website, or email me directly at mike@votevicUSA.com. And you'll find all these links and more in the show notes. We have some great interviews in our backlog, so look for those to come out in the coming weeks. And finally, if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend, hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell on YouTube, or leave us a kind review wherever you listen. Every single interaction helps new people discover the show, and I appreciate it so much. Until next time, Unorthodoxers, you stay faithful.